She expected you to chase her. You know it. She knew exactly how to pull back, how to look just interested enough to keep you guessing, but just distant enough to make you feel like you needed to prove something. She thought you'd be the guy who folds, the guy who texts again even when she didn't reply, the one who sits there staring at a typing indicator, hoping she'll come back. She expected desperation. But what she didn't expect was silence. Not cold silence, not passive aggression, but a calm, grounded, powerful silence. The kind that makes someone pause and ask, wait, why isn't he chasing? And that's when everything started to shift, because you didn't react the way most do. You didn't play the game the way she's used to. You chose something different. You chose yourself. And that choice, that was stoic. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't about pretending you don't care. This isn't about winning some imaginary relationship war. This is about remembering your value when someone else forgets it. It's about staying rooted when someone else plays hot and cold like it's a sport. It's about not letting someone else's confusion become your chaos. Maybe you've been in that situation. Maybe you're in it right now. You meet someone. It starts off strong. There's laughter, chemistry, maybe even a little spark of something rare. And then suddenly she cools off. She takes longer to reply. She stops initiating. She starts acting like she's doing you a favor by existing. And in that moment, everything inside you says, try harder. Don't lose her. Say something clever. Be charming. Fix it. But that's not strength. That's fear dressed up as effort. Because let's be honest, when you chase someone who's walking away, you're not attracting them. You're just confirming that you'll accept the bare minimum. And that's exactly what she expected. So when you did the opposite, when you didn't chase, didn't explain, didn't beg, you broke the script. And that made an impact. There's a quote from Epictetus that hits hard here. He said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." And in relationships, that freedom means letting go of the need to control how others see you. You gave her that freedom. You didn't try to pull her back in. You didn't try to fix what wasn't yours to fix. You stepped back. You got quiet. And in that silence, something powerful began to happen. You regained control of your energy. See, what most people don't understand is that Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally disciplined. It's about choosing where your focus goes instead of letting your feelings drive you off a cliff. In that moment, when she expected you to spiral, you went still. When she expected you to flood her with affection to earn back her attention, you redirected that energy inward. And make no mistake, she felt that. Women feel shifts in energy. They feel it when a man goes from seeking validation to reclaiming his dignity. Because attention is a currency. And when you stop spending it on someone who stopped investing, you change the dynamic. And look, I'm not here to tell you what to feel. I get it. You cared about her. You saw potential. You imagined things going differently. But she didn't show up for that version of the story. So what are you supposed to do? Wait around? Keep trying until you wear her down with consistency? Nah, that's not you. Not anymore. You've decided to level up. Size down. You've decided that your time and peace are worth more than someone's mixed signals. That's what Stoicism in relationships looks like. It's not detachment. It's clarity. It's choosing what aligns with your values and walking away from what doesn't. And if she circles back later, if she reaches out after the silence, it won't be because you chased. It'll be because she realized you weren't chasing. You were leading. You were protecting your peace. You were becoming the kind of man who doesn't fold when the game shifts. And that kind of presence, that's unforgettable. So today we're going to dive deep into this dynamic. We're going to explore what happens when you stop reacting and start rising. We'll break down what it really means to hold your frame, to withdraw your attention without bitterness, and to rebuild yourself, not to prove anything to her, but to become undeniable for you. We'll talk about what emotional alchemy looks like, how to take frustration and turn it into power. We'll walk through how leveling up in silence speaks volumes, and why being unavailable can sometimes be the most magnetic version of you. And when the moment comes, if it comes, when she reaches out again, we'll talk about how to respond, or if you even want to. Because this isn't about making her regret. This is about making yourself whole. She expected you to chase, but you did this instead. Let's get started. Number 1, the power of no reaction. You know that moment. She says something passive-aggressive, or maybe she ghosts your last text. Your chest tightens, your ego flares up, and your fingers are already hovering over your phone, crafting some clever reply just to prove you're unbothered. But here's the truth. If you react, you've already lost control. See, the moment you react emotionally, you hand over the reins. You're no longer in your frame. You're playing hers. And guess what? That's exactly what she wants. Not necessarily because she's malicious, but because she's used to men reacting. She's used to a certain level of predictable emotional pursuit. The more you give her a visible reaction, the more power you quietly surrender. Now imagine this. She pulls back, expecting you to chase. Instead, she's met with silence, stillness, no explanation, no emotional reply. You carry on with your life like your peace hasn't even noticed the disruption. That's where the magic happens. That's where the power of no reaction becomes a seismic shift in the dynamic. There's a passage from Marcus Aurelius that goes, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." And in a moment like this, that's not just philosophy, it's a weapon. When you choose no reaction, you're not being weak or indifferent. You're choosing strength. You're showing that your emotions are yours, not hers to provoke. You don't need to play cool, you are cool. That's the difference. Let's break this down into the reality of relationships today. People are addicted to reactions. Social media, dating apps, texts, stories, everything is designed to provoke response. And most people are emotionally wired to respond instantly. Ghosting you? You double text. She goes cold? You ask if everything's okay. She posts a cryptic story? You watch it like a hawk. But not you, not anymore. Because you've stepped into the Stoic mindset. You're not reacting from emotion. You're responding if and when it aligns with your principles. And look, this doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about the right things, like your peace, your integrity, your standards. It means you no longer let temporary emotional storms pull you off course. Let's flip it. When you don't react, what happens? She starts to wonder, why didn't he reply? Why is he so calm? Did I lose him? What is he thinking? You've gone from being emotionally available on demand to becoming a mystery. And mystery is magnetic. Silence, when used from a place of inner power, not ego, is louder than any argument you could ever make. It tells her that you're not waiting for her validation, that her behavior doesn't dictate your identity, and whether she respects you for it or not, she feels it. This is how you begin to shift from seeking to leading. She expected drama. You gave her discipline. She wanted a reaction. You gave her nothing but presence, and it shook her. So the next time you feel the itch to prove your point, to show you're unfazed, to defend yourself, pause, breathe, channel your inner Epictetus and remember, he who angers you conquers you. Let her see that you're not a man she can rattle. Let your peace be louder than her provocation. Comment this below. If you're done reacting to games, I hold the frame. And hey, if you're ready to stop chasing and start leading, subscribe right now. This channel is where powerful transformation begins. Now, the real twist? What happens when you stop playing by her rules altogether? We're getting into that next. Stay with me. Number 2, her game, your rules. You ever notice how subtle the shift is? At first, it all feels mutual. Messages flow, energy aligns, and it seems like you're both genuinely into each other. Then one day something changes. Not dramatically, just enough. Maybe she replies with one-word answers. Maybe she stops initiating. Maybe she starts posting things clearly meant to stir your attention. But here's what most guys miss. It's not about the reply. It's about the rhythm. Suddenly the tempo isn't yours anymore. You're dancing to her beat, waiting for her cues, adjusting your words, second-guessing your tone. Without realizing it, you're in her game, and she knows it. Here's the catch. She might not even be fully aware she's playing it. But people who are used to being desired learn early how to shift power. They don't do it out of malice. It's instinct. It's testing. And if you're not conscious of it, you'll end up performing. But you're not here to perform. You're not here to pass her tests, jump through her invisible hoops, or decode her passive messages. You're here to live your truth on your terms. That's where your rules come in. Let me be blunt. When a woman senses that a man is grounded in his own rhythm, unmoved, focused, not emotionally swayed by her flinch or silence, she pays attention. That's not arrogance. That's ownership. The Stoics talk about this constantly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And in the context of relationships, this means you decide how the energy flows. You set the tone, the boundaries, the pace, not out of control, but out of self-respect. Look, I'm not saying you become rigid or cold. That's not power, that's ego pretending to be control. What I'm saying is you stop adapting your self-worth based on her approval. You stop making adjustments to stay liked. You stop playing her game. Instead, you flip the dynamic, not by being manipulative, but by being clear. You know what you value. You know what behavior you accept. You know when to stay and when to walk. You know that love isn't proven through sacrifice, but through alignment. And when she sees that, she either steps into your frame or she fades. And if she fades, that's clarity, not a loss. Here's the beauty of it. When you set the rules by living with intention, you no longer need her to play fair. You're not even on the same board. You're building something better, something stable, slow burning, and rooted in peace. That's Stoicism in motion. So when the game begins, when the breadcrumbs start, or the energy gets weird, or the replies slow down, you don't confront it. You don't explain yourself. You don't plead. You just stay in your lane. You keep showing up as you, grounded, consistent, unshaken. And she either meets you there or she watches you walk away like a man who never needed to play games to be valuable in the first place. If you're done dancing to her tune, comment, "I set the rhythm." This is the kind of mindset we build on this channel. If that's where you're headed, hit subscribe and stay in your power. And just wait, because next, we're talking about what happens when you remove the one thing she thought she could always count on, your attention. Let's keep going. Number 3, the withdrawal of attention. Let me tell you something simple, but powerful. People notice absence way more than they ever appreciated presence. Your attention, yeah, that thing you kept giving so freely, isn't just some casual gesture. It's currency. It's energy. And every time you gave it away to someone who wasn't giving it back, you were making a quiet transaction, exchanging your worth for the hope they'd finally see it. But attention given without reciprocity, that's not love, that's leakage. Let's be real, she got used to it. The little good morning texts, the late night replies, even when she left you unread 3 hours ago. The likes, the double taps, the overthinking, the micro adjustments in your tone just to keep her engaged. And at first, it felt like effort, like this is what it takes to show I care. But over time, it became something else. It became expectation, entitlement, and the worst part, it stopped meaning anything. That's the trap. The more consistently you offer your attention to someone who isn't emotionally invested, the more invisible you become. You don't become valued, you become available. Now here's the twist. When you pull that attention back, it echoes. Suddenly there's no reply, no check-in, no energy flowing her way. The background hum of your presence disappears, and that silence gets loud. If you've ever been in a noisy room and the power cuts off, you notice the silence instantly. That's what the withdrawal of attention feels like. It's not revenge. It's not punishment. It's just the first time she has to face herself without your emotional oxygen. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." And in this case, to withhold your attention, to break the reflex of always showing up, that's the courage. That's the shift. You're not playing hard to get. You're just no longer available by default. You're not punishing her. You're preserving yourself. It's wild how fast things can change. You stop reacting to the story posts. You stop sending those just checking in messages. You stop being the first to open the conversation. And you know what she feels? Not anger, not relief. She feels the weight, the shift, the vacuum. She starts to question, is he mad? Did he lose interest? Did he move on? And none of those answers are comfortable for her. Not because she lost someone to text, but because she lost someone who made her feel seen, even when she didn't return the favor. That's when your attention goes from expected to missed. But let's be clear, you're not doing this to manipulate. You're doing it to recalibrate, to reset the imbalance, to remind yourself that your energy isn't disposable, that you're not some emotional vending machine waiting for the right button to be pushed. The withdrawal of attention is a boundary. And the beauty of it, you don't need to explain it. You don't need a dramatic exit speech. You don't need to make a point. Your silence speaks. Your absence teaches. If she values it, she'll notice. If she doesn't, then thank God you stopped wasting it. Comment below if you're ready to cut the flow and protect your peace. I choose where my energy goes. If this hits, if you're tired of chasing with your focus, your time, your soul, hit that subscribe button. Let's shift your power back where it belongs. And coming up next, we'll talk about what happens when you stop showing and start growing. Because building in silence, that's a whole different level. Stick around. Number 4, rebuild in the shadows. You ever notice how some people disappear for a while and when they come back, they're different? Not louder, not showier, just better. They look calmer, sharper, more focused. Something in their energy feels upgraded. And the best part? They didn't post a single thing about the process. That's what it means to rebuild in the shadows. It's the quiet transformation that happens when no one's watching. And ironically, that's when the change becomes real. Because it's not about impressing anyone, it's about restoring yourself from the inside out. Let's be honest, after you've pulled back your attention, after you've stopped chasing, there's usually this big empty space. And it's uncomfortable. You're not texting her, you're not waiting for a reply, you're just sitting with yourself. That space, that silence, most guys rush to fill it with distractions, rebounds, endless scrolling, fake productivity, but that's surface level escape. The wiser move, the stoic move, is to let that silence do its job. That's where the work begins. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Right now, your pain, your confusion, your frustration, those aren't obstacles. They're fuel, but only if you choose to sit with them and start rebuilding from the ground up. And here's the part nobody tells you. Transformation doesn't look epic from the outside. It looks boring. It's early mornings, uncomfortable thoughts, workouts you don't want to do, resisting that urge to check if she's watched your story. It's taking care of your body not to post it, but because you're tired of feeling weak. It's reading that book not to show you're smart, but because you're tired of thinking in loops. It's building habits not to prove a point, but because you're exhausted from being at war with yourself. It's unlearning the version of you that needed her attention to feel like a man, and rebuilding one that doesn't. And here's where the shadows matter. When you rebuild quietly, no one can interrupt your process. You're not seeking applause. You are not explaining your progress. You're not announcing your comeback. You're just doing the work. And that kind of growth, it sticks, because she expected the silence to break you. She thought the distance would weaken you. But instead, it turned into your gym, your dojo, your lab. You started chiseling the parts of yourself you once ignored, not to get her back, but to get you back. And when you eventually reemerge, because you will, it won't be with a statement. It'll be with presence, with clarity, with strength that doesn't need to be shouted. And she'll feel it. Maybe not right away, but eventually. She'll feel it when your name pops up and she realizes she doesn't have access anymore. She'll feel it when she checks your feed and there's nothing there, but somehow you're glowing differently. She'll feel it when her games don't work on you anymore, because the man you used to be, the one she could toy with, is no longer home. That man got replaced, quietly, relentlessly, in the dark. So don't rush this part, don't document it, don't try to prove you're better. Let the silence stretch, let the shadows hold you. Let the new you come together without commentary. Rebuilding in the shadows isn't glamorous, but it's sacred and it's yours. Drop this in the comments if you are done proving and ready to rebuild. Silence is my season. If you're nodding right now, if this hits different, it's time. Subscribe and grow with people who move quietly, but powerfully. Now up next, we're flipping the script. Ever heard of emotional alchemy? turning pain into power? That's where we're going. Let's keep building. Number 5, emotional alchemy. Pain has a flavor. You've tasted it. That slow burning, tight in the chest kind of feeling when you know she's pulled away, when the messages slow down, when the warmth starts to vanish. It doesn't just hurt, it confuses you. It scrambles your instincts. One part of you wants to hold on tighter, the other part wants to disappear. But here's the thing most men never get taught. Pain isn't the enemy. Emotion isn't weakness. The real danger is not knowing what to do with it. That's where emotional alchemy comes in. Alchemy, ancient, mystical, poetic, was never really about turning metal into gold. It was about transformation, about taking something raw, something chaotic, and refining it into something rare. Stoics, in their own way, were emotional alchemists. They didn't suppress their emotions, they transformed them. And you, right now, you've got the perfect ingredients. You've got disappointment, rejection, anger, regret. All that fire inside you, if you try to suppress it, it turns toxic. But if you learn how to channel it, if you learn how to work with it, it becomes fuel. That's the shift. You don't text her in frustration. You go to the gym and put that weight on your back. You don't rant in your group chat. You open a notebook and write the truth you've been scared to admit. You don't stalk her socials. You sit in silence, breathe deep, and ask, what part of me needs healing? Why did I want her validation so badly? What am I trying to fix through her attention? That's where the transformation begins. Not when you move on, but when you move inward. Seneca said, Oscar, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Right now is your proving ground. The emotion you're feeling isn't a setback, it's a signal. A call to level up, not in appearance, but in mindset. And no, this isn't about becoming emotionally numb. That's avoidance, not power. This is about refining, taking raw feeling and choosing what to do with it, instead of letting it do something to you. When she expects you to spiral, to lash out, to drown in your own reactions, and instead you rise, that's emotional alchemy. When you can sit in solitude, fully aware of your heartbreak, and still choose your routine, your health, your standards, that's emotional alchemy. When you can take the sting of rejection and as a mirror, not a prison, that's emotional alchemy. And it's not just attractive, it's rare. Most men chase distraction. Few choose growth, but you're choosing to turn pain into presence, noise into clarity, reaction into creation. That's how a man becomes dangerous, in the best way possible. Comment this if you're done reacting and ready to refine. I transform under pressure. And if this message found you at the right time, don't just watch, subscribe. Join the kind of men who aren't afraid to feel deeply and rise silently. Next, we're going deeper. You've learned to handle emotion. But what happens when you reclaim the entire frame? That's coming. Stay with me. Number 6, master of frame. Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you set the tone? Not just in conversation, but in the whole interaction. The mood, the energy, the boundaries. Or were you just reacting to whatever came your way? Her moods, her mixed signals, her silence, her hot and cold games. That's what frame is all about. And if you don't hold it, someone else will. See, your frame is the lens through which the world responds to you. It's not about control, it's about center. When you walk into a room, speak in a conversation, or move through a relationship, your frame determines whether you lead or chase, whether you guide or adapt, whether you own the moment or survive it. In most modern relationships, especially when emotions get involved, frame slips. You start strong, grounded, clear. But then you feel that emotional pull. She starts acting off, and suddenly you're adjusting your approach. You're overthinking. You're trying to make it work instead of just being. That's frame loss. And it's subtle but deadly, because once you start orbiting her emotions, you've already left your center. Stoic philosophy teaches us this. It's not things that disturb us, but our judgment about those things. Epictetus. When you lose your frame, you stop judging through your own values. You start filtering reality through hers. But here's the power move. Not reacting doesn't mean you're passive. Holding frame means you lead without forcing. You don't need to dominate, you just don't deviate. Let me give you an example. Say she pulls back emotionally. She starts texting short, seems distant. The average guy? He starts asking what's wrong. He texts more. He gets anxious. He tries to fix the vibe. But the man who holds frame, he notices. He breathes. He doesn't chase the shift. He watches it. And he continues living in his rhythm, not reacting to hers. He's not cold, he's composed. That energy of stability, of quiet direction, is rare and it's magnetic. It doesn't mean you're stubborn or closed off. It means you're selective about what you respond to, that you know who you are, and you don't let temporary emotions redefine that. Women feel it, people feel it, and most importantly, you feel it. Because when you master your frame, you stop needing constant validation. You don't panic when someone drifts. You know that your value isn't conditional. You're not performing. You're standing. Frame is what separates grounded men from emotionally reactive boys. And trust me, when you start holding it, everything shifts. Your conversations get calmer. Your energy becomes solid. You no longer ask, what should I do if she does this? You start asking, does this align with the man I'm becoming? That's the question that keeps you in your power. So if you've lost your frame before, don't shame yourself. Most men do. The key is reclaiming it quietly, consistently. Through presence, not performance. Comment this if you're done shifting for anyone else. I hold the frame. This is what we build here. If that resonates, hit subscribe. This space is for men who lead from within. And next, we're going even deeper. What happens when you stop being available altogether? When mystery replaces access? That's coming up. Let's go. Number 7, unavailable is unforgettable. Let's be real for a second. When someone's always there, always replying, always showing up, we stop noticing. We don't mean to. It's just human nature. We're wired to crave what we can't reach, not what's constantly in our hands. And in relationships, that law of scarcity, it hits harder than most people want to admit. See, being unavailable isn't about ignoring her. It's about not being accessible on command, not being emotionally on call just because someone feels like checking in. And here's the twist. The less available you are, not in a manipulative way, but in a grounded, purposeful way, the more unforgettable you become. Let me explain. When she knew you'd always answer, she didn't think twice. When you were the first to like her post, the first to text good morning, the first to ask if she was okay, she appreciated it at first. But then she started expecting it. And once something becomes expected, it stops being felt. That's the death of impact. Now imagine this. You step back, not out of anger, not to teach her a lesson, but because you've redirected your attention back to your own growth. You're no longer trying to prove anything. You're simply less accessible. Suddenly, that space where your energy used to flow feels empty, not petty, just quiet. And you know what happens? You go from familiar to mysterious. From always there to wait, where is he? She starts checking your socials, wondering if you're okay, questioning if you've moved on. Because now her mind is doing what yours used to do, filling in blanks. That's the power of unavailable. Stoics understood this in a deeper way. They didn't run from the world. They just didn't need it to validate their existence. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. The translation, you don't owe visibility to anyone, especially not someone who only values your presence when it's convenient. Being less available doesn't mean being cold. It means you're prioritizing what matters. It means your schedule isn't built around her responses. It means you're not interrupting your peace to chase connection that wasn't mutual. And yes, it feels risky. It feels like, what if she forgets me? But here's the truth. Availability creates comfort. Unavailability creates memory. She may not remember the 38th message you sent, but she'll remember the first day you didn't. The goal isn't to be missed. It's to build a life so full, so solid, that your absence naturally echoes. That when she reaches for your energy and it's not instantly there, she has to pause, reflect, maybe even regret. You're not doing it for the reaction. You're doing it because you finally realized you were never meant to be someone's emotional filler. You're the whole damn story. Comment this if you've stopped being easy to reach for those who don't reach back. Unavailable, unapologetic. If you are building a presence that doesn't chase but attracts, then hit that subscribe button. This is your circle now, and next, the moment you have been waiting for. What happens when she reaches back out? The dynamic shifts again, and we're ready for it. Let's keep moving. Number 8, leveling up silently. Let's be honest, when someone pulls away from you, especially someone you deeply cared about, there's a loud urge in them, I'll show them. It's subtle. It starts with hitting the gym harder, not just for health, but to post that mirror pic. You pick up new habits, start reading, building, investing, but somewhere underneath there's that whisper, I hope she sees this. It's human, but it's not power. That kind of growth, it's not real growth yet. It's performance. It's still tied to her. You're still reacting, still needing her attention to validate your effort. But there's another way, the quiet way, the stoic way. Leveling up silently. It doesn't post updates. It doesn't throw shade. It doesn't flash results like trophies. It just works every day, every moment, with intention, with focus, and most importantly, with zero need for applause. I remember when I went through something similar. There was someone I thought I'd build a future with. Things ended abruptly, and I didn't handle it well at first. I over-explained, I sent long messages, I posted carefully curated moments just hoping she'd see what she lost. I was doing everything but healing. And then one day I just stopped. Not because I didn't care anymore, but because I realized my attention was still orbiting her. I wasn't growing, I was acting. I pulled back, I went silent. I read more, worked more, slept better. Took real time to look at the parts of me I'd been ignoring for years. I didn't post a thing, I didn't make an announcement. I disappeared not from life, but from needing an audience. And when I resurfaced months later, mentally clearer, physically stronger, emotionally calmer, something wild happened. People noticed. Quietly, respectfully, and more importantly, I noticed. I wasn't pretending to be better. I was better. That's the power of leveling up in silence. You see, we live in a world addicted to visibility. If you don't post it, did it even happen? But the Stoics would laugh at that. Marcus Aurelius didn't write Meditations for likes. He wrote it for himself. To refine his thinking in private, he said, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. That doesn't mean self-punishment. It means you keep your standards high, not to impress, but to become someone you actually respect when no one's watching. So what does silent growth look like? It looks like getting up early, not for hustle culture, but because you're done being at war with your own chaos. It looks like fixing your finances quietly, without flexing. It looks like journaling instead of texting her. It looks like saying no to shallow distractions and yes to depth, even when no one claps for it. It's not a comeback story, it's a reinvention arc. And here's the real twist. The version of you that emerges on the other side won't want her back. Not out of spite, not out of ego, but because the man you became isn't compatible with the man you were when she left. That chapter is over, and the next one doesn't include her. That's why leveling up silently is unforgettable. Because when you grow without noise, no one can say they made you. No one can take credit. It's just you, the work, and the results. And by the time they notice, you're already gone. Comment this below if you're building quietly for yourself. I grow without noise. If this resonates, if you're tired of pretending and ready to transform, subscribe now. This space is built for quiet killers like you. Up next, what if she comes back? What do you say? Do you respond? Or do you stay silent? We're walking into that moment next. Don't go anywhere. Number 9, when she reaches out, it happens more often than you think. The message comes in, usually late, simple, casual, out of nowhere. Hey, how have you been? Or maybe it's even more subtle. She reacts to your story, sends a meme, drops a song you used to listen to, and in that instant, your heart skips. Your mind flashes back. You remember the version of her you missed, not the one who faded away. So now what? Let me slow this down, because this is where most guys slip. You've done the work. You've pulled back your attention, rebuilt in silence, mastered your frame, and just when you finally feel stable again, she taps the glass. This moment is critical because your response reveals everything, not to her, but to you. If the old version of you leaps back in, eager, emotional, too available, you undo everything you've built, not because you replied, but because you lost your center. The Stoics remind us of this constantly. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, if her message shakes your peace, that means your peace was still tied to her. So before you even touch that keyboard, ask yourself, why am I responding? Are you curious, lonely, still seeking closure? Or are you grounded, calm, clear, detached from outcome? Because here's the truth. Just because she reaches out doesn't mean she's changed. It doesn't mean she's ready. It might not even mean she wants you back. Sometimes people reach out just to see if the door is still open. Your job isn't to slam the door or swing it wide. Your job is to ask, does this door still belong in my house? You don't owe her a reply, but you also don't owe her silence as revenge. You owe yourself honesty. And if the honest version of you knows this is just nostalgia dressed up as connection, walk on. Now, let's say you do choose to respond. Fine, but the energy has to be different now. No flirting, no jumping back into the old rhythm, no pretending everything's normal. If you're going to speak from this new version of you, the one that doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't seek validation, because if she reaches out and finds the same man she walked away from, she'll walk again. But if she reaches out and senses something different, an energy she can't quite place, a groundedness she didn't expect, now you've flipped the entire dynamic. Not because you tried, but because you grew. And maybe she'll try to reel you back in. Maybe she'll say she misses you. Maybe she'll test your softness. But the man who's leveled up doesn't bend to nostalgia. He listens, he observes, and he decides from strength, not longing. You've come too far to go back to who you were just because she remembered who you are. Comment this if you're choosing self-respect over old patterns. I don't go backward. If this message hit home, subscribe now. We're not done evolving, and neither are you. And now, the final part. The moment you claim your Stoic victory, not over her, but over yourself. Let's finish strong. Number 10, the Stoic victory. This isn't about her anymore. Let's make that clear. The Stoic victory doesn't look like her coming back. It's not her watching your stories again, texting you late at night, or saying she regrets how she treated you. That might happen, and sure, it might feel good for a moment, but that's not the win. The real win is when you don't need it anymore, when her message doesn't shake you, when her silence doesn't hurt you, when her attention no longer defines your value. That's the Stoic victory, and it's quieter than you think. It doesn't come with applause. It's not flashy. No one throws you a party for healing. There's no Blastage for choosing discipline over emotion. No trophy for walking away with your peace intact. But make no mistake, it's the most powerful victory you'll ever claim. Because this journey wasn't about beating her, it was about reclaiming you. The version of you that was buried under approval seeking. The version of you that forgot his worth because someone else couldn't see it. The version of you that mistook access for affection, attention for intimacy, reaction for connection. You let go of all that, not in bitterness, but in clarity. And that's what Stoicism has taught us all along. That your power lives in your response. That peace is found not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. That even when life throws you off center, you get to choose what it means. Think back for a second. You started this journey maybe feeling lost, confused, maybe even desperate. You were chasing, explaining, reacting. You were giving someone the authority to dictate how you felt about yourself. Then something clicked. You pulled back your energy. You rebuilt in the dark. You stopped reacting to every shift in her mood. You started asking different questions. Not how do I get her back, but what parts of me need to heal so I stop craving people who don't choose me fully. And that shift, that was the pivot. Now here you are. She might reach out. She might not. Doesn't matter. Because the man you've become doesn't operate on hope. He operates on standards. He doesn't chase feelings. He follows principles. And when someone steps into his life, they either meet him at his level or they don't stay. That's what Stoic strength looks like in modern relationships. It's not emotional coldness. It's emotional clarity. It's not being unavailable out of spite. It's being selective out of self-respect. It's not pretending you don't feel. It's knowing that your feelings are yours to manage, not hers to manipulate. And if you've made it this far, you've already won. Because most people never do this kind of work. They run in circles, they keep repeating patterns. They trade temporary comfort for long-term confusion. But not you. You slowed down. You confronted the hard truths. You let go of the need to be wanted and found something better. The desire to be whole. So yeah, she might remember you one day. Maybe she already does. But the version of you she's remembering, that man no longer exists. And the version of you she'd have to meet now, he's not interested in replays. He's building new stories, with or without her. Comment this if you've claimed your inner victory. I won by walking away whole. And if you're serious about living with strength, clarity, and peace, subscribe now. Not because you need this content, but because you choose to stay sharp. You choose to lead. You choose the path most avoid. And that, my friend, is how you win the Stoic way. If you've made it to this point, I don't take that lightly, because it tells me something about you. You're not here for games. You're not here to just get someone back. You're here because you're tired of chasing, tired of bending, tired of shrinking just to fit into someone else's world. You're here to reclaim your peace, to hold your frame, to become someone solid, not for attention, but for yourself. That's rare, that's powerful, and that's what this channel is all about. So wherever you are in your journey, still hurting, still healing, or already rising, remember this: you don't need to be loud to be strong. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. The most powerful energy in the room is often the quietest. Keep walking your path, keep leading with presence, and never forget, the one who walks away whole always wins. I appreciate you, I see you, and I'm walking this road with you. Until next time, stay grounded, stay sharp, stay you. And if no one told you today, you're doing better than you think,